5 deadly natural phenomena America has, but Britain does not. Videos like these scare me. I ain't gonna lie, man, so we're just gonna jump straight in. If you can like the video by hitting a like, subscribing. Let's do this, baby.
True. In fact, it's true for most countries that aren't called the United States of America.
What's true?
90% of all F5 tornadoes ever recorded took place.
Good God. Get me lost.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America
Lost in the pond.
And one of those memos pertains to deadly natural phenomena. Last week, a tornado ripped through Nashville, and it got me thinking about how America is very extreme when it comes to some of these natural phenomena in a way that Britain isn't. And for anybody who's looking to move to the United States, it's good to keep these things in mind. Just keep in mind they are rare, right? So it's.
I have a question for you guys. A request, almost. I'm going to flash my email up on screen right now, guys, okay? And, hey, don't do it if you want, but I would love to do a video where if you guys have ever experienced a tornado, it's even done damage to any of your property, you've snapped a couple photographs, a couple videos of it. If you guys want to send me some of that, and I would love to look through them and see what you guys had to go through, and we could talk about it. I think that would make a really cool video. But of course, you don't have to if you don't want to. And I know it's kind of could be a sensitive subject to some who might have lost a lot. But if you guys want to get, you know, some sort of exposure out there to show you how deadly this shit can be, do it.
It's not like a Roland Emmerich movie every day in this country, but it is pretty staggering how Mother Nature can be quite a bit more overbearing.
Mother Nature can be a bitch.
And if you think this video is just going to be Lawrence moaning about the snow again, you would be incorrect, because over half of the entries on this list are not even weather related. Well, actually one might be with technicality. And so without further ado, let's take a look at 5 deadly natural phenomena that America has that Britain doesn't. Yes, earthquakes, and there is a reason that I specified magnitude 7, because Britain has never had one. In fact, the worst it's ever had was a 6.1 magnitude earthquake, and that didn't kill anybody. In Britain, that's sort of part of the course. Deaths as a result of an earthquake are incredibly rare. The only earthquake I remember living through in Britain was one that emanated from the Lincolnshire town of Market Raisin, and as I recall, the extent of the damage that day was a fallen patio set. But magnitude 7 earthquakes or above are not just these sort of fictional events that are reserved for films like the imaginatively titled Earthquake. These have actually happened in American history. In fact, one happened just last year in California. I remember all of these famous people on social media posting pictures and videos of their swimming pools swaying from side to side and the dogs looking confused. And
yeah, that always terrifies me when you see earthquake videos and you just see everything moving. What is that? Is that like what's it called? The tectonic plates? Is that what it is? Is that what the earthquake is? When they move around, they kind of hit each other, causes fucking ripples through the earth type thing? Let me know.
Really surprising that this happened in California, because California is sort of the capital of America's most deadly earthquakes. Indeed, the nation's most deadly earthquake occurred in 1906 in San Francisco, when a frankly astonishing 3,000 people perished amid a 7.9 magnitude earthquake. Now, since that deadly earthquake in San Francisco, California has, of course, endured some terrible earthquakes in the century that has passed. It's also waiting, of course, for the so-called big one, which, you know, some people think is inevitable. Either way, once you get past all of these quakes and shakes, I am assured that California truly is the golden state. That is, once you've also got past these.
Oh,
we saw it in Australia at the beginning.
California's wild, isn't it? No pun intended, wildfires. California's kind of crazy. When he said they're waiting for the big one, is that because one hasn't happened in so long, and it's one of these things that eventually happens, guaranteed to happen, and one hasn't happened in a bit, so they're like, you know what, time is ticking down. The countdown is on, but nobody really knows what the timer is. They just know it's coming soon, type thing. I'll not be going there anytime soon, because I know as soon as I touch down, it's going to happen.
Beginning of this year is the bushfires that engulf that country. We see them, of course, every single year in the United States. Specifically, from a news standpoint, you tend to see them in California. But I've seen smoke from a news standpoint.
Holy shit. That is insane. This is obviously the smokes.
You tend to see them in California, but I've seen at least smoke from wildfires in Utah and Idaho, so it's not just a California issue. That just happens to be where some of the deadlier wildfires occur in the US, but not the deadliest of all time. That very unwanted record goes not to California or Utah or Idaho, but to Wisconsin. That's right, the Peshtigo fire of 1871 killed upward of 1,500 people, and there's a weird reason that you might not have heard of it. It may have burned through 1.2 million acres and been the deadliest wildfire in US history, but due to a stunning coincidence, it was largely buried in the newspapers of the day, where it was overshadowed by another fire that broke out that day, a fire that history will remember as the Great
Chicago's
Fire.
on fire!
And the Great Chicago Fire also overshadowed the Great Michigan Fire. It's like how John F. Kennedy's death overshadowed that of C.S. Lewis and Aldous Huxley. What are the chances? Well, for decades, some theorized that all of the fires were caused by the very same thing, that being debris falling to Earth from a missing comet. But in recent times, scientists have ruined that theory by pointing out that actually, to the touch, comet debris is actually cold and would probably extinguish the fire. So it was aliens. Meanwhile, people very
Aliens
rarely die in
rocket,
wildfires in Britain, if at all. Though wildfires do indeed exist there. The same cannot be said
That's
of our
terrifying.
next entry.
That is terrifying, like, honestly.
Now we're getting into the kind of phenomena that I've not seen with my own eyes, unless you include 1997's volcano or 1997's Dante's Peak.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, Dante's Peak is a movie.
What are the chances that two very similar disaster movies would come out in the same year? Let's ask 1998's Armageddon and 1998's Deep Impact.
You know, I didn't realize how alike these movies were. I didn't watch Deep Impact until like 2 years ago, and I swear to God, whenever I was watching it, I was like, this is just Armageddon. There were so many references, not references, but like there were so many similarities to each movie. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And they also came out in the same year, right?
In the same year. Let's ask 1998's Armageddon and 1998's Deep Impact.
Same year, my God.
The truth of the matter is volcano eruptions in the United States are not just works of fiction. You may recall recently that there was a volcano eruption in Hawaii, and don't get me started on Mount St. Helens. Actually do, because that represents the deadliest eruption in US history. In 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted, killing 57 people. And over the course of the next decade, it would see more and more eruptions. And this isn't surprising, because if you look at a map of the west coast of the United States, or just the west coast of the Americas in general, look at all those active volcanoes.
Good.
That's where they sit. I blame Pangea for breaking
we don't
up
got any?
to the United States.
We're safe. Or not type it, because there's a load here, because this is Iceland, isn't it? Yeah. If they go off, the smoke sun comes down, we're fucked. Yeah, never mind. I take it back, man. We're cooked.
West coast of the Americas in general.
Look at that.
Look at all those active volcanoes.
Why is this? Why is there what's going on underneath the floor here, man? Look at that. Nearly the whole way around. How is there volcanoes in the middle of the sea, bro? Is this islands? Wait, there's only one active volcano in Australia. Holy shit. That is insane, man. Holy.
Volcanoes, that's where they sit. I blame Pangea for breaking up, because it's enough to put me off moving to the Pacific coast.
Yep.
And if one of those blows, not even Pierce Brosnan can help me.
No.
Now, having looked at a map of all of the active volcanoes in the United States, here are all of the active volcanoes in Britain. That's right, there are
so
precisely
boring.
no active volcanoes in the entirety.
We don't get tornadoes. We barely get earthquakes. And now we don't have any active volcanoes. What do we got? Nothing. The last volcanic eruption in Britain was 55 million years ago. We suck. Give us a volcano.
So Britain is thankfully unlikely to match the death toll at Mount St. Helens. Unfortunately, our next entry far surpasses it. So
here we
to
go.
use language that you're more likely to hear in this, my adoptive country, Category 5 hurricanes are like totally the worst. Literally true, the deadliest natural disaster in American history was the Great Storm of 1900. Striking Galveston, Texas, it is believed to have killed between 6,000 and 12,000 Americans. But this was a Category 4 storm. The deadliest Category 5 storm was the Okeechobee Storm of 1928, which killed 2,500 Americans and 1,600 others elsewhere. In recent times, you probably remember Hurricane Katrina, which was also a Category 5 storm, and of course led to thousands of fatalities in New Orleans
When was that?
and some of the surrounding areas and states as
2005?
well. And if you're watching this from Britain, you might be thinking, what? We don't have hurricanes in Britain, and deadly ones at that. Well, the truth is people have died as a result of hurricanes in
This is going to make me feel so old. Why is there a Hurricane Katrina t-shirt? I hope to God that the people making these are like donating the money to people who were affected by this and not trying to make money off a fucking earthquake that killed a lot of people. It was 2005, 19 years ago. 1,392 deaths.
And just not Category 5 hurricanes. And that's because in Britain there has never been a Category 5 hurricane on record. And that includes the most famous storm in living memory. That would be the Great Storm of 1987, which nonetheless did kill 18 people and 15 million trees. And all this after the weatherman Michael Fish reported that there wasn't going to be a hurricane, so we weren't prepared. Thankfully it happened at night, so most people were asleep in their soft beds. Same can't be said for the trees, which ironically did provide material for some of the bed frames. No, in Britain, hurricanes are sort of rare. We usually get what they refer to as the tail end of the hurricane.
Yeah.
And speaking of tails...
Dragons! Oh.
Thankfully, unless you include 1996's Twister, I've never seen a tornado with my own eyes. But if I did, I'd absolutely myself.
Me too.
At this point in my life, perhaps it's just luck that I haven't seen one, because to say that we don't have them in Britain would be a complete lie. Tornadoes are actually quite numerous in the British Isles, but there's a big difference between the tornadoes that we get in Britain.
They like die off or something, don't they, real quick? Something like that.
And the tornadoes that we get in the United States of America. Firstly, the UK has not recorded a tornado-related fatality since 1931, and before the 20th century, you'd have to go back to...
What is this? What is this? What do you think's happening right now? He looks like he's just heard something really that, like, his wife has just texted him saying the dog is out, the dog has ran away. He's pointing out to the ocean here thinking, you go back to where you just came from. He's looking up at him thinking, holy shit, his breath is horrendous.
1958 and then 1091. Historically, around only 12 people have been killed by tornadoes in Britain. And that's because British tornadoes just aren't very powerful. The one that ripped through London in 1091 is believed not only to be the oldest known tornado in British history, but possibly the strongest. They theorised that it might have been a Category 4 tornado, suggesting that anything above that, aka an F5 tornado, has never made landfall in Britain.
Wait, did he say that... What year?
Through London in 1091.
1091. When was that? 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, I think. 2000. What year is it? 2024. Nearly 1,000 years ago. How are anyone alive? Surely it just blew away everyone's home. Surely back in 1091, people were probably living in caves.
Is believed not only to be the oldest known tornado in British history, but possibly the strongest. They theorised that it might have been a Category 4 tornado, suggesting that anything above that, aka an F5 tornado, has never made landfall in Britain.
We suck,
and that's true.
man.
In fact, it's true for most countries that aren't called the United States of America, where 90% of all F5 tornadoes ever recorded took place. Now, 37% of those took place in either Oklahoma, Kansas, or Texas. You would expect that they're in the Great Plains. But surprisingly, the Great Plains did not play host to the deadliest tornado in US history. That would go to the tri-state area of Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri. That 1925 Twister killed 58 times the UK's all-time total. If you're sitting at home and doing the maths on that, stop right now, because I'm just going to tell you the death toll was 698. It's by far the biggest, but as we are reminded by that tornado that ripped through Nashville last week, itself an incident that beats the UK's all-time record, we are reminded once again of the destructive power of American tornadoes, and my thoughts
I think I changed my mind, man.
Recovering from that incident. In the meantime, for anybody that's looking to move to the United States, I hope this video hasn't put you off. For the most part, you won't see any of this, unless you live in California. I'm joking, you'll be fine. I just wanted to make you aware of these things and to remind my American viewers that Mother Nature just seems to have it in for you.
Yeah, she really does. Mother Nature can be a bit of a bitch. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of bitches, I stream over on Twitch. If you guys want to come and join the community on there, we have a bunch of you guys coming over. It's great, enjoyable. I love it. Either way, thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, but most of all, you enjoy yourself.